Hello. Good evening and good day to all those watching on YouTube. Welcome to Comfortably Uncomfortable with Coach Hemant, the panel discussion series on the future of work. We have gone through several episodes now. I have covered so many different areas, and out of the 12 parts, we are already on episode 10 now. We have looked at the future of work from many different lenses, whether it was remote working or the onslaught of AI or diversity and inclusiveness, equity, and so many other facets of what makes your workplace and how each of those things are evolving, are changing. Some you are keeping pace with, and some are moving much faster than you can cope up with. How does the future of work change? How does business change? And how does it impact individuals, employees, and those of you who are leaders of the organizations, who are going to be the future leaders of these organizations? How are you going to cope up with all these changes and become the leaders of the future organization? That's been the focus of our panel discussion series. And today we come to a very interesting topic. We talk about cybersecurity in this world of a lot of new age tech which is coming, and of course, especially AI, which has made it easy to replicate your voice, your face, your identity in the online world, and to some extent, even through your mobile phone. So that's near real world application, as we may say. When AI has made it easier, not just for a few expert programmers, but for absolutely anybody with an internet connection, that's a threat. When AI makes it easy to code complex algorithms, which can even be used for the malicious purpose of hacking into accounts or hacking into networks, well, even people with little knowledge and a little bit of motivation can get through. The threats are increasing. So that's what we are going to focus on. And to do that, we have an absolutely expert panel here today. Three very experienced individuals, industry experts in their own rights, with extensive experience about cybersecurity. So let's bring on the panel on the stage first, our panelist, Praveen. Let's begin with Praveen today. Okay, let me
Yeah.
put you on the spotlight.
Uh,
Okay,
Thank
great.
you. Thank you so much, Hemant.
Yeah,
So, talking about this cybersecurity and how it is affecting the recent trends, that is, as you said, a lot of threats which is arriving with the AI. And as you say, we have deepfake. You might have heard about it. So that is actually creating you. I mean, like your voice, your video. So that will be used. I mean, like if you see the use cases, that will be predominantly very large. And I mean, like there will be political campaigns happening. I mean, like there will be some.
yeah. So definitely we'll come to all those things, but let me even introduce you first to the audience here. So
Yeah.
Praveen Vijayan, a seasoned cybersecurity professional who is passionate about this field, absolutely passionate, and has contributed to building some secure products over his 1 decade of experience that cuts across all domains of cybersecurity and led implementations of several security technologies and processes in his various assignments. So, thank you for being with us, Praveen. We'll get back to you with our questions and your insights. And
Thank you. Thank you.
with that, let me move on to Mayank. Mayank, you are going to be on spotlight now. Fantastic. Mayank has almost 2 decades of experience spanning a dynamic information security journey. He has evolved from an analyst specializing in risk assessment, compliance management, vulnerability assessment, vulnerability assessment into a full-time information security, information systems auditor, which enriches his perspective, answering the why behind the security practices and then back into information security as a consultant, continuing the expert journey into the realms of OT security, SOC, and implementing security solutions, evolving into a visionary InfoSec leader. Well, lots of accolades to his, and he has been offering insights and solutions to IT, ITS, publishing, airlines, healthcare, manufacturing, entertainment, and absolutely a wide range of industries. Thank you, Mayank, to be on this panel with us to discuss this absolutely crucial topic for the future of work. Well, last but not the least, we have got Tom. Tom Heenan is a cybersecurity professional with a penetration testing career spanning almost a decade. He's currently managing a fully CREST accredited penetration consultancy based in the UK and has recently opened up a division in Dubai to serve the Middle East. He has this unique ability of viewing IT from an attacker's point of view. That's a very interesting point of view, I would say, easily identifying potential insecurities and tasks paths that could be exploited by a real world adversary. That's how hacking would take place. And if you can get into the mind of the hacker and think like the hacker, chances are you can find a better solution. So Tom currently is running a team of exceptionally skilled penetration testers working with very large banks, government departments, and financial institutions to fully assess and subsequently secure their environments. In his career, he has specialized in adversary simulation, performing highly advanced and technical engagements, aiming to replicate highly skilled and well funded adversaries. His technical background has allowed him to pick some of the best talent available in the world to work on his team and becoming an industry leader in penetration testing. Thank you, Tom, for joining us. It's going to be a fantastic conversation with you and Mayank and Praveen. So let's begin, I would say. So, sorry about that. Okay. So, information security, cyber security, identity thefts, hacking into company servers, hacking into public domain website, which have got millions of users. I'm sure you have heard some variations of these news items over the past 2 decades or 3 decades, I would say. The news have always been there, constantly been there. What is increasing is one, the frequency of the attacks. Two, something which may not be apparent from the news articles is that there is an increase in the sophistication of the attack. Organizations are spending a lot of time, effort, money, resources into strengthening their security. And yet you have got these extremely talented and sophisticated hackers who will get into the system one way or the other. Of course, the problem often lies between the chair and the keyboard, the human in between, who makes mistakes, creating opportunities for people or hackers to take advantage of. But then, in spite of that remaining a natural occurrence, how do we still build security around the existing organization? And even as individuals, we live our life online most of the time. We are using one app or the other any point in time as soon as we pick up our phones. I think we use the phones very little for calling and talking, right? So in this age also, so it's not just organizations that need to worry about information security. Each one of us needs to worry about our information security, especially when it comes to our banking information and security. Now, that's where I get your attention. Probably till now, you were like, okay, information security, not for me. The moment I mention your banking accounts, you are paying 100% attention. So that's the reality. So what I want to touch upon is that while we all know about information security to some extent and also understand the threat, the focus today, since we are about the future of work, the focus today in the conversation is to look at what are the emerging trends, what are the new things happening, what are the new challenges or issues cropping up in the area of information security, cyber security, what are the new kind of threats that are coming up. So one by one, I'll go across to Mayank, Praveen, and Tom in that order. And for to them, this question, that's the same question, is put forward. What is changing? What are the new paradigms of cybersecurity and information security? So let's begin with Mayank first.
Hey, hi everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, Hemant, for the great introduction. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is when it comes to cybersecurity and AI is me probably after 7 or 8 years sitting on the chair, sipping coffee in the morning, and the AI assistant telling me what it did instead of waiting for me to take a decision when it comes to exfiltrating data which was stopped by the AI, or an attack vector which was stopped by the AI, or an insider threat which was detected, and a certain kind of data did not go through the corporate perimeter. I think that's exactly what I'm looking at this point in time. It's a total burnout that happens for any information security personnel uh, currently engaged, going to the office every day in the morning and then getting to know what has happened and what might have prevented of for the things not to happen. There's just about 10,000 good things that I can think of when it comes to cybersecurity and AI in future, especially when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to tourism. And since I've also worked in manufacturing, some of the critical network infrastructure areas wherein there are industries on which our lives depend. You know, water treatment plants, manufacturing of electricity, and delivering of electricity, and all sorts of those critical industries. Now, having talked about industries, uh, to sleep at night, knowing that an attack would be stopped in the middle of its track, and then I can go back in the morning and say, okay, what did we learn? How did it happen? Why did it happen? What can we do better? And get a great ROI at the end of the quarter to showcase to the higher ups. That's how I envision cybersecurity and AI in future. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Good pointers about the public utility services. Like our lives literally depend on that. Uh, and while you were talking about the public utility services, like the various services we use in our households, it also struck me that our hospitals are increasingly dependent on a complete host of electronic and electrical equipment which is there for absolute life support. Like every uh, patient has got one or the other connection to an electronic device. Either it is measurement of vitals or recording of vitals, which is giving alerts to the nurses and the doctors as to what needs to happen at what point in time. Any breach in any of these systems could be pretty fatal. So, interesting dimensions there, and I think as the electronic invasion continues in our lives, and we have got more and more intelligent systems, cybersecurity threats will also increase exponentially along with that. And the challenge is going to be how do you keep pace and actually go one step ahead of these cyber threats. AI will be the cause of a lot of them because AI will be used by the hackers, but AI will also be used to prevent it. As you rightly pointed out, having your morning cup of tea and AI giving you the report of what it did overnight. Thank you, Meng, for that perspective. Let's shift focus to Praveen now. Praveen, your perspective on what's changing in cybersecurity domain.
Yeah. So as Mayank said, I'm just adding to his point. So if it is in a good purpose, I mean, like if you take AI in a good purpose, there are a lot of opportunities with AI, and we can do a lot of many things with AI. And I mean, like as of now, we see the skills. I mean, like in the cybersecurity, if you see now it is 10 million, which is very very higher than which was around 2019. It was 3 million. So we can use a lot of AI products towards cybersecurity to kind of like defend ourselves from the cyber attacks. And if you see the another, I mean, like the opposite side of AI, if it is go to a bad guys, it can do enormous amount of damage to an organization. I see, and you might have heard about this. I mean, like the politician who talk about something and it affect the election. I mean, like there is a video released. I mean, like it was a deep fake created video. I mean, like kind of AI, and it will be like similar voice and similar video, and it was actually a fake, but if we do a fact check, it needs to have a lot of time, right? So, and if you see the, I mean, like the share markets are going down, like CEO created a CEO deep fake videos, and it is kind of like creating enormous damage to the company itself. So there are a lot of bad things are happening, and as you say, we are almost everybody who are using electronics. As you see, there are a lot of inventions in IoT, and we are having AC, which is connected to internet, which is a kind of computer, and car, which is connected to the internet, which is a kind of computer. So every computer is hackable. So so we need to I mean, like very conscious towards cybersecurity, and I would say there are a lot of threats are arising with the AI and IoT and recent I mean, like recent generative AI. A lot of applications are coming, along with that threats are also coming. So I see everybody should have a cyber conscious, and they need to use electronic gadgets or something very in a proper way. So that is what I'm, in my view, I'm just thinking.
Fantastic, fantastic. So that's opening up a few more doors and windows of conversation. Let's move on to Tom now. Tom, your perspective.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. I think from an attacker's point of view, I think what's changing is the actual ease of how actually easy it is to compromise businesses at the moment. I mean, we need to see sort of the MGM breach that happened yesterday, or sort of a couple of days ago, where it's a simple phone call to a help desk almost gets you sort of remote access into that environment. And I think really the ease of access is sort of is skyrocketed, and I think that's a combination of people working remotely. So things like calling a help desk is very easy. It doesn't have to be personal anymore. You also have AI as well, like we've mentioned. It's a lot easier just to say to an AI tool, write me a piece of code that does this, rather than having to sort of spend time and have that ability to do it, where it's sort of lowered the bar as to the actual technical level of skills that you need. So it might be to say that someone potentially like a junior position can now go and use a tool like AI and almost act as a senior with sort of years of experience on there. And what that does is that really just gives you a much easier way, and it just elevates lowers the way of sort of lowers the bar for people to break into these businesses. And again, I think what's also changing is not in terms of skill, but in terms of financial cost as well. The cost of sort of buying compromised VPN credentials, buying initial access, that has plummeted recently. I mean, you can buy access to 1,000 VPN servers for about £1,000. So if you value an account at £1, you can see how quite quickly that an attacker can hop onto the internet, hop onto the dark web, buy VPN accounts and sort of look and progress their attacks from there. Combine that with AI and that additional capability they have, and that's a very easy and cheap way that someone could get in.
Absolutely, absolutely. It makes for a very scary scenario when you think about all these simplification and the ease of doing business from the hacker's point of view, or anybody with an intent to penetrate into an organizational security or even a personal security. It is not uncommon these days to hear about one of your contacts on Facebook or Instagram making a post saying, my account has been hacked. If you are receiving a friend request from me while you are being connected right now, please beware. And I am definitely not asking for money. It is with such commonality that this is happening. In fact, late last year, it happened to me. Somebody created a Facebook account which looked like mine, my pictures, some of the posts he had replicated. And he was sending out messages asking for money. And some good friends who were connected with me on WhatsApp sent me messages saying, Hemant, your account has been hacked. You're asking for money. I said, definitely yes and definitely no. So let me address that. Well, I couldn't do anything because it's a separate account. My account was, as it is, not really hacked. He just created a duplicate account. So I made a post on my account saying my account somebody has created another account with my name and pictures. Please do not accept request. Do not entertain any money requests. That guy using the other account and my pictures is replying to the message which I have posted. So I am having a conversation with me. Very fun to watch for the audience, but it was very painful for me for those moments that what is this happening? Anyway, thankfully, nobody sent me money. So all was good. But yes, those are real small examples of the threat individuals face. Similarly, it's not unheard of that organizations have a breach and they receive a call for ransom to release their either information or not release the information out in the public domain, which sometimes includes, surprisingly, passwords of their users also. So these are challenges which we know of. These have been happening for almost the last few decades, and we have heard about them. What are the new challenges? We've talked about the various things happening, but I would focus on that. What are the challenges going forward? Which organizations, which leaders of tomorrow need to be not only aware of, but they really need to be working on those challenges. So once again, let me start with Mayank. Mayank, your perspective on what are these challenges of the future that organizations need to be aware of from the point of view of cybersecurity?
I think I think I started off with envisaging what was good in the future.
Yes.
Now the time has come to recap what is probably actually going to happen in the future. Um, it's a with cybersecurity. I mean, in reference to cybersecurity, AI is going to be a very scary piece of the puzzle. Um, how I see it is that corporates needs to really fight disinformation. At this point in time, you would see the disinformation campaign happening at the government levels or the state sponsorship levels. Uh, I think that this could be taken down to that corporate level wherein it would become really difficult for organizations and corporates to fight the information that is being posted out in the public. That would directly affect how the stock prices behave, how the stakeholders behave, um, what are the regulators going to say, and uh, this is really not going to be easy. And especially, I'm talking about bad AI at this point in time uh, because of all the competition that is going to come in. The competition is going to be cutthroat. How I see it is that AI is going to standardize a lot of industries, a lot of languages within industries. Um, at this point in time, you would see a consultant boom going on around the world. Everybody working around RPAs and LLMs and the new technologies which are coming in, the AI in general. Uh, how it will translate in future is that it will standardize the language at all levels within all the industries. So the organizations really have to fight for the USP of what exactly is my USP as an organization to be top notch in the world. I want to be a technology company. I want to be a publishing company. I want to be a healthcare company. What exactly is my USP? Because uh, I'm probably making the same product as the other 500 people are making at this point in time. That's going to intensify the competition. And then with all the AI coming in, uh, when you have all the competition, the AI is going to be used in adversarial fashion more than to actually be a good consumption at all. Um, I mean, not going all dark, but uh, with all the remote work coming in, people working from home, uh, you know, Sorry for that. I've put a timer for myself because this is the favorite section that I have. With all the remote gig coming in, like you rightly mentioned a few minutes ago, that deep fakes which are making rounds, they're going to be very, very real. uh, Banking system really need to figure out a way of how to make sure that when you are making a payment transaction or you are using a face ID to log into an application, it's really you. At this point in time, you would see the application coming up and saying that you blink, move your face up and down, and that's about it. And now imagine a deep fake coming in and doing the exact same thing along with the blinking eyes. Because there is no way for the camera to know the biometrics of how the iris system works and the fingerprint works. So it's going to be scary. I mean, that's how I see it. So pretty challenging is what I see.
I can't even say fantastic perspective on this. It's scary, and of course, as you talk of this one example, it just shoots off so many other thoughts and can't say ideas, but yeah, I mean the imagination can go wild in terms of the possibilities of using tech to assume identity and get into systems via the normal way of just circumventing the security or breaching the security and having access to a large amount of data. Both these things are more and more, increasingly happening, and organizations are really having a tough time in defending themselves when such an incident happens. We have had incidents where the user IDs, passwords, and sensitive user data is now accessible to hackers, and they publicly announce also their victory of having access to this data. It's a loss of goodwill, a loss of reputation of the organization. And if these organizations are even remotely connected to information security, then they're like out of business, I would say. I mean, if they couldn't secure their own data, how will they secure their customers' data? So the threat is real. And as you rightly said, AI, deep fakes, they are going to just, I don't know, take it to a different level where the challenge is going to be how do you even circumvent them? A good example of the Face ID recognition that you mentioned, easily replicable now, even after the move your head, blinking, and all those things. They might ask you to speak up something, but voice can also be cloned now using AI. So it's going to be difficult. I'm just wondering if we will go back to the days of enter the password, nothing else. Well, let's move on to Praveen. Praveen, what do you think are going to be the challenges that the cybersecurity world will see increasingly, and new challenges, different challenges?
Yeah, we are seeing a lot of challenges as Mayank. I'm just adding to his point. AI is going to do everything. Like it is going to be attacker as well as it is going to be a defender. I mean, like we are using for the bad purpose. We are using. I mean, like for the good purpose, we are using is as a defending, as I mean, like finding vulnerabilities inside the organization and how we are going to defect. How we are going to defect about the external attacks and how we are going to manage our organization security with it. I mean, like rise of LLMs, and we are training LLMs, and what are all the data we are going to put. So there are a lot of things actually coming in towards AI. In the simple form, as I see now, a lot of, I mean, like after this COVID trend, a lot of people are doing a work from home, right? So there are a lot of people who are connecting from public Wi-Fi, and I mean, like in my company also, we are allowed everyone to connect from public Wi-Fi. So that time there will be a lot of attacks happening. I mean, like if you see a lot of people going to a staycation and they stayed somewhere in the hotel and they're actually connecting to the Wi-Fi access. So there will be a lot of data loss happening over there also, as well as I would say, I mean, like we have solution for that. Like we are using VPNs and all that, but our mobile internet is connected to the publicly, and that there we have a lot of threats arises and a lot of data breaches happening over there. I mean, like data exfiltrations happening over there. And I would see like another point, I mean, like emerging technology. along with the AI, IoT is also like growing technology. We have a lot of devices and home locker itself connected to the internet, and it is kind of like receiving RFID signals and like opening the door. Everything is connected to the internet, right? So anybody can get into our home network, and they can able to open a door, and they can able to see what are all the things you are seeing in a TV. So there are a lot of breaches are there towards this cyber threats, like cyber trends, which is arising now. And what I am seeing now is a lot of like a lot of people who are like majorly they are using internet, and they don't have consciousness of how it can be hacked and all, right? So from the particular person to a company, so it is happening everywhere. So in terms of cyber threats, there are a lot of threats arises with generative, like AIs and LLM. So as a employee, we need to have very conscious on what are all the data we are putting in, and what are all the data we are collecting via AI, so it can be hackable. And there are a lot of checklists available to maintain it securely, but it needs to be implemented. Like now it is growing, right? We don't know what all the threats might come in. So that time we need to be very cautious while getting a data, while using your personal information. So that is where I see a lot of threats arising. Like we are making everything available on internet, so it will be available to hack also. So we need to be very cautious on like what data we putting in AI, and what data we put in on the social media. And so there need to be a lot of defense need to be available, all the accessible, all the employees or all the individual persons to access to the internet.
Thank you, Praveen, for that perspective. I thought Mayank kind of scared me. You just took it to the next level. But I mean, you were describing about how we freely access Wi-Fi and IoT and your own devices and all. And I was thinking that four of us, we have been in the industry. We know about the cyber threats. I have been working in IT companies through my 20 years of consulting experience. We all know about cyber threats. We know that the free Wi-Fi, which is available in the mall, at the airport, at the cafe, is not really secured, and so on and so forth. But we still all end up using it. It's only a few of us who are very strict with ourselves, saying, no, I will not connect to the Wi-Fi available freely at a mall or an airport or any other place. We are constantly connected to Wi-Fi anywhere and everywhere. And then, of course, we have got all these devices which are connected to each other. Our smartwatch, our phone, our laptop, Alexas, Google Home, and now with smart machines like your refrigerator would be connected to the home systems. And the way we are heading to with all these systems being connected. So anybody getting access to one device would find an easy way of accessing all the devices. And now that you throw in the jugglery of remote working and bring your own device kind of possibilities, one infected family of devices of one user can get you, the hacker, the entry into an entire organization's system if they are not secured enough, or if the hacker is slightly more expert level than the guy who secured the organization network. This is a very real scenario now. And I mean, and that's where I began, that in spite of having that bit of awareness, we still fall prey to it. There are about millions of people, in fact, I would say billions of people, who are not even aware that their phone or that free Wi-Fi access could lead to such circumstances where they would be locked out of their own devices and their information would be in the hands of someone else. Crucial, critical information about you. Our phones, our laptops have our entire life information these days. We access all our banking and all other information, the sites we access, everything is through our laptop and the phones now. anybody having access to them would know everything about us, would have access and control over our lives. Very, very scary. So I think whether it's organizations or individuals, both will need to be extremely careful about how they can safeguard their information and not give easy access of their information to just about anything. And that includes apps on your phone. Sometimes we install apps and the app is asking allow permission to. And we don't even look at what all permissions it is seeking. And we click yes or agree in a hurry to install that app. Sometimes it's mind-boggling the kind of access it is asking for. It's an app which should be clicking pictures and it is asking to access to documents, make calls. Why would a camera app or a photo editing app need to even make calls? It's mind-boggling, but we kind of overlook that. So yes, huge challenges out there. And with that, let me come to Tom. Tom, you on the spotlight now for your perspective on those emerging challenges in cybersecurity.
Yeah, cool. So I think one of the main controls is how businesses can sort of protect themselves and sort of protect employees' data, but all while staying productive as well. Because it's very easy for a company to say, look, you're not allowed to use phones, no, bring your own device, everyone has to lock up any device they bring in. But then productivity comes down quite a lot. And I think for business, it's really weighing up that risk of the potential breach versus productivity and revenue and everything else that comes with that. And I think with the advent of things like AI on the defensive side, so tools like Darktrace, Vector AI, pieces that are sort of looking at autonomous network detection, so looking for anomalies, seeing what normal network traffic looks like, but then if something looks slightly different, either alerting or blocking or whatever on that, they're good tools, but they can be quite disruptive as well, because the problem could be that if it detects something as bad, but it was just, say, a user connecting to a printer they'd never connected before, that might be picked up as a lateral movement throughout an environment, and it may lock that user out, which then, of course, gives you downtime and delays, because then you have to get it re-enabled and pieces like that. So I think that's going to be quite a big challenge, is how to balance sort of productivity versus security. And again, that's with bring your own device. That could be with actual corporate devices too. It's just that's going to be quite a difficult challenge to, I think, for businesses to overcome. I think the other challenges are there's going to be, like I said, a lot more low-skilled, previously seen as low-skilled attackers targeting the network now. So whereas, like I said before, you're going to be low-skilled in terms of experience and knowledge, the use of things like AI just to write you quick tools to, throw at source code and say, can you find me vulnerabilities in this? Okay, cool. Can you write me a proof of concept? And it will just do it. So I think that it just makes another thing for businesses to think about. But also when they're looking to gain assurance as well, there could be challenges there, because I think probably what we'll find is lots of companies will start advertising, say, security assurance services or penetration testing, and really they'll just use an AI or automated tool to do that. Whereas that may be good for some light coverage, it won't pick up as much as sort of what a manual pen test would do, like an experienced set of eyes. And I think businesses will say, yeah, we've had a pen test, we're all secure, when they've used an AI tool, but it may give them a false sense of security assurance, because it might not pick up everything that a human would, just because of how it doesn't have a brain, doesn't think logically. It may find the obvious things, but it may not find that this thing leads to this thing, leads to this thing, leads to this thing. So I think those sort of three main things are the big bits. So managing controls without locking out business and really hampering productivity. Also then dealing with low-skilled attackers now passing as high to medium-skilled attackers, but then also judging on the actual value of using an AI-based pen test tool to give you that assurance. I think they're probably the three main challenges that are going to be coming up soon.
Okay, great. I mean, that's a very interesting one, where the organization begins, or like the organization uses an AI tool to cover itself from the hackers and assumes that they have done a good job, whereas it might not be. And as you rightly said, I mean, The AI tools can help, but they may not be able to actually give you a complete solution. In fact, taking back to our previous conversation earlier in this panel discussion, will the AI be able to think like a hacker to preempt the approach or the vulnerabilities? It might still go on a prescribed path. It might do an analytic of the system and arrive at a logical thought process of where the attack would come from, but not really think like an ingenious hacker. So definitely there is a role for the humans. The humans in the cybersecurity still have a good job to keep, and it will only expand. I'm sure that the market might actually explode for the cybersecurity professionals as the threats increase and their value actually goes up. So there's hope out there. Not all is bad with the AI world. I remember a couple of weeks ago there's an AI organization which created a website for the youth, and they did a quick poll with their audience, the Gen Z. And the question was very simple: do you think there is a threat to your jobs because of AI? More than 95% of the responses were a yes. So I was talking to them and they said, okay, let's do a session for these Gen Z. We actually did a session talking about AI, what AI is. Most people have this very scary doom and gloom picture of what AI is doing and all, because those are the hot topics on the internet, and bad news sells better than the good news. So we had to take them through the process of what AI is, what it does. The prompter is still the most important person in the room when it comes to the AI, until the AI begins to self-prompt. But even beyond that, it's just that the AI revolution is going to take the humans to the next level of intellectual thinking, because your job will evolve. As Thomas said, that a low-skilled uh, individual can now become a higher skilled individual with the aid of AI. Imagine what the higher skilled individual could do with the right AI in his hands. We are actually going to take, to use the words on my screen, we are going to level up and take it to the next level when it comes to humans' ability to do tasks, to accomplish things, and to even create new things. We have seen the creations of AI tools like the Mid Journey, etc. Absolutely fantastic imagery being created. Yes, an ingenious human could create something better than that. But that's one person or 0.001% of the population, whereas the AI is out there to help the remaining 99%, who may not have the skills, but they have the desire to do something. And that's what AI will do. Great. Thank you for that perspective. And now we come to the last segment where we have talked about the challenges, and true thought leadership and the leadership comes to play when you're also talking about how do you deal with those challenges. How does the future leader, how does the organization overcome those challenges? A quick shout out and thank you to the audience we have got. I think we had a few dropouts, but at least those who are in the room, thank you for being here with us, and it was great to have you. Any comments you have got, anything you would like to add to the conversation, feel free to add in the chat, and towards the end we will open up for Q&A, and you can ask your questions or express your views about cybersecurity also. For now, we can use the chat box very freely. Okay, back to Mayank, Praveen, and Tom about what the future leaders and the future organizations need to do to overcome the challenges posed in the area of cybersecurity. We'll start with Mayank. Spotlight on you.
Yeah, so I think there's already the big talk going on about zero trust. Um, I think this is the right time to train the AI to use the zero trust in the future. So essentially, what zero trust does is that there's since there is no consciousness in making a decision, it has to be a hard fact decision. I see certain things happening and I take a decision and then report it. Um, Essentially, we can leverage AI to do that hard fact taking decisions and then report it to us. in the future. That's really going to help the organizations, the challenges that they are facing at this point in time. I think uh, that's going to be one very big help that the organizations are going to get. But it has to be the AI models have to be trained in such a way. Second most important thing I think is that when it comes to AI implementation itself, the corporates especially, and any of the agencies, in fact, that goes for the government agencies as well. If they really want to adapt a AI model, and there's no there's no if and but there, it has to be done sooner or later. So the sooner we have the skill set developed for it, the sooner the training starts for the right skill set people to come in for AI, the better it will be for the organization. Um, these are all the challenges that we might face in the future. Uh, at this point in time, to understand the AI systems, there are just handful of people out there. Actual engineers, data scientists, coders who are actually able to understand what this AI system does. What is the statistics, mathematics behind it? What are the foundational things behind it? How the code comes together to make a LLM or make a model out of this. There are just handful of people. This has to be made more public. It has to be made more auditable. Standards needs to be set in, and most importantly, ethics needs to be set in. Otherwise, we would see probably all our personal data searchable by Google at one point in time, which we of course do not want. Um, and last but not the least, uh, there has to be very strong government regulations around usage of AI as well. Um, slowly, slowly we see organizations and governments across the world now coming to terms with there should be a data privacy regulation. Seeing one another, in recent times, India has come up with the data protection and privacy law. Saudi has come up with data protection and privacy law. UAE already had privacy and protection laws in place. Uh, it's no choice now. And when it comes to AI ethics, the same applies. The the good part about uh, the problem is that we know the problem ahead, and most of us can contemplate and we can speculate that that this is going to be a problem. So I think now is the time to get the heads together and get the regulations around, especially around ethics. Uh, that's my two bit on the future.
Thank you, Mayank. That's actually pretty forward-looking, and I think in the past few months there has been an increasing conversation. Of course, that doesn't get a lot of news coverage, but there has been conversation about slowing down the pace at which AI development is happening, because it's going way too fast, and the conversations around governance, regulations, ethics has not even started so seriously within those government circles and the authorities. So the pace of technology is too fast for the governments to catch up, and there is a growing conversation of putting some brakes on the progress. So yes, a very relevant point. Of course, the ethics definitely, and a good point about the auditability of AI systems being brought in. I think I came across a similar conversation recently that there needs to be a process or a way of checking the result of actually tracing back the output of the AI. I think it's a common concept in pharmaceutical industry, the traceability of a single vial of medicine. They should be able to trace back to every source ingredient which is there. I think a similar concept needs to be there even for AI. And there is a conversation about it should be there, and of course, there is a conversation. Why do we need it? Because AI is dependent on inputs coming from thousands of sources. If you can't really retrace your path back, you might have issues on one side with the actual factual bearing of the output, as well as copyright issues, because AI is based on material being created by somebody at some point in time, some of which will be protected by copyright. And when you use it for your final output, are you in defiance of the copyright laws? So, well, that those are the challenges of these times with AI implementations. And when organizations begin to implement AI for their systems, for their usage, they will have all these challenges coming for themselves too. Great. Great points, Mayank. Thank you very much. Praveen, over to you now for your perspective on how do organizations and the leaders of tomorrow, you being one of them, how do you overcome all these challenges?
Yeah. So as Mayank said, zero trust security. So we should not trust anything, anybody, any individual person. So we have to implement security controls on all the assets as well as all the areas of the organization. And what I'm seeing here is, well, like in the future also, majorly the problem with the cybersecurity is we know what it might cost to our organization, but the ignorance. What I see is a lot of products which is coming in. I mean, like new startups are coming in. They doesn't think about security from the base. They'll think when the product is launched. So that is a very big problem I see. I mean, like towards startups, and there are a lot of larger companies. They doesn't think about security at the base level when they are thinking about the product. They are actually launched the product, then they'll do a cybersecurity kind of like testing or something. So that needs to be managed. And if you take individual person, I mean, like I'm using organization data, but I'm connecting to a public Wi-Fi. I'm just connected to the Wi-Fi I doesn't know. So those kind of things I need to be very careful of. So I need to connect every time. I need to connect with VPNs so that it can be it cannot be attacked, or I mean, like there is a concept called man in the middle attack. So that can be defended. And we should use our home router should be some good secured router instead of using an older router or the router which is given by the company. So those kind of things are all we need to change. I mean, like we know that it might cause a big problem, but we are kind of like ignoring it till the attack happens. We doesn't know what is actually we are doing. So in the future organization, I mean, like what I'm trying to say is, when they are thinking about the product, when they are writing the first line of code, they need to think on the security point of view also, and they need to know what are all the public data we are going to get, what are all the customer data, so how the security is being managed on the products, and how it is going to be in the future. I mean, like if any attacks happen, so what are the incident response I'm going to take? So if any incidents happen, any attacks happen, so how I'm going to respond it, whether I know about it, how it is going to be managed. So there are a lot of compliance involved, but kind of like with the ignorance, we as an organization, we ignore, or maybe the cost also a problem. But I would say the cybersecurity is not an optional anymore. It is going to be like big thing if any attacks happen. So that is one more thing. That is one thing. And another thing is we should not allow anyone to. I mean, like we don't provide access to everybody. So that is another thing I would say. And what the only one thing I would like suggest to the future organization is defense in depth. So we usually call it as DOD. So we have to defense in depth, and we have to block all the cyber attacks which is arising. I mean, like as we discussed, a lot of attacks might arise in the future trends and technology. So we have to be very cautious, and ignorance should not be there. So that is my point of view, like in the recent trends.
Thank you. Thank you, Praveen. Very rightly said. Ignorance is going to be the root cause of most of the attacks historically, and I think even in the future, because we humans seldom learn from our past mistakes. Ignorance at individual level will kind of create an entry point for a hack or an attack to take place in the first place. And ignorance from the point of view of organizations will lead to a situation where your systems are not robust enough, where you have not thought through security, where security is not part of your product design. It comes at the fag end of the product design where, okay, here we have a product. Now, how do we make it secure? And then you are bringing in consultants or players that, okay, let's secure this. I don't think it's going to work like that anymore. Security will have to be built in from the very first line of code written, for the very first line of process written on a piece of paper, whatever be the kind of system or process you are creating. Every product designer from an IT perspective or even from a non-IT perspective will have to have at least the basics of information security or cyber security clear in his or her mind to be able to bring that to the product design. Whether it's a website, an interface design, anywhere it could be applicable. We talked about how AI could be, I mean, the deepfakes could be used. Now, when a person is designing a system, that person should know about deepfakes and how, what are the capabilities of deepfakes to be able to build a system which is robust enough. So, from both these perspectives, individual as well as organization, if you're ignoring cybersecurity, you're just opening up yourself for the potential attacks. And those can be very difficult to fix. You will not be able to repair stuff after they are broken. You will have to build them strong. Well, with that perspective, let's move to Tom, your perspective on how the leaders of tomorrow should be overcoming the challenges.
Yeah, of course. So realistically, companies shouldn't be getting hacked, and companies don't really get hacked through outdated software. They don't really get hacked through bad passwords because normally they're pretty well robust passwords potentially. But you would expect a company to have things like multi-factor authentication and really basic security pieces in place. I think how to overcome the main challenge I think is going to be people. It's a people problem. It's a staff training problem because you can have as many sort of defensive technologies in place as possible, as many policies in place, but if you don't have staff training, say for a call center or for a help desk, to say actually you need to verify who's calling up, you can't just give passwords out, or you can't just training for you don't just click on a link, don't put things in, look for these, look for this particular piece in the URL. There's pieces like that need to be addressed because the business can protect it can protect the computer, not a problem. It'll be the people that are using it that will cause the issue. And I think how businesses can really do that properly and really understand their sort of security posture is through regular security assurance pieces, whether that's penetration testing, secure reviews, looking at policies. There's so many different pieces that can be looked at, and I think that needs to be done regularly, and the more regular it's done, the more when something new gets deployed, security is thought about straight away. It's not like you said, it's not okay, it's in now we need to do security. It's like, no, we need to run this by security first. And I think the more staff are surrounded by security training, the more the things are being enforced upon them, it gets people thinking. I think that's sort of the biggest thing is the staff training piece. Because like I said, it's easy to keep things updated, it's easy to set password policies, it's easy to enforce things, but it's not easy to make someone think in a particular way, especially when they haven't done it potentially for 40, 50, 60 years. And that's really, I think, going to be the biggest piece. That plus, getting the right tools in, getting the right people in to review the output of those tools, looking at security best practice, looking at policies, again, regular security assurance testing. All of those are about as much as you can do. It won't stop someone getting hacked through a 0-day or some undisclosed vulnerability that there's no fix for. really the take home is if someone wants to get in, they'll get in. You can buy zero click vulnerabilities in an iPhone for £1 million, £2 million, £5 million, and for a government that's not much, right? So you have to really understand where your risk sits as a business, plan accordingly, do the basics right, and I think staff training is just going to be one of the biggest things that I think businesses need to do to overcome a lot of these challenges, because like I said, tech is easy to secure, but people just aren't.
Very true. Very true. I think you've rightly said here. We are going to have the situation where people are going to be at the center of things, where either the attack begins or ends. And what do you do after that? So, one, we have already talked about it, the awareness in individuals about their own security, about organizational security, about what are the basics of precautions they need to take. And I think we extend it further. I think 9/11 kind of created a large amount of awareness about disaster recovery planning. I think even from a cyber security angle, you or each organization will need to have their own disaster recovery plan, a DRP site, or whatever you may call it, but actually identify a plan of action of what they are supposed to do after something has gone wrong. So preparing for something not to go wrong, as well as preparing when something actually goes wrong, both will play a role. And every individual of the organization has a responsibility towards it, that awareness, that education, and that as a constant even reminder, because people tend to forget about these things over a period of time. I have been part of consulting organizations, and in some of those organizations there were these short 30-minute training and even long 2-hour trainings that we were supposed to do every year. Without fail, we had to go through that training. And while these were computer-based trainings, we couldn't skip them. We couldn't go fast forward them, or we couldn't switch them on and then do some other work. We had to be on screen, we had to be answering questions, and we had to be attentive. We were forced to go through the trainings. It was a pain at that time, but then over a period of time, I realized that some of those elements which were mentioned in those trainings, I did forget over the span of the year. Some of the finer points I had to remind myself when I went to those trainings. And yes, I took those precautions about devices, about information, about leaving printouts on the desk or at the printer. Those are things which we often make mistakes with and we take them lightly. But even a piece of paper, uh, confidential nature, left lying around is a breach of information. It's an information security issue. Take that with the large amount of information we have on our devices, we could be doing things wrong. So the user education and the user bringing the capability of the user to actually defend an organization is the key. And I think that has come up in the conversation, in the pointers which all three of you have mentioned. Great, fantastic. And I think we had a absolutely fantastic conversation. Rajesh has shared some inputs in the chat. Rajesh, if you can come on video and unmute yourself, I'll allow unmuting for participants now. It will be great to hear that straight from you rather than read from the chat. Rajesh, will you be able to join us? Okay, Rajesh might have moved. Okay.
Yeah, hi, Hemant. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible but not visible. Join us on
Just
video
a
if you can.
Am I visible now?
Absolutely, absolutely. Please express your thoughts on it. We can see you now.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was a fantastic conversation. I can see a lot of industry experts as a panelist. First of all, thanks to each of the panelists who had shared a different perspective. Yeah, so as I mentioned, just to reiterate what I was sharing in the chat window was most organizations are now moving towards that modular approach, which they call it as cybersecurity mesh architecture, but it's not something new. It was introduced by Gartner way back in 2022 itself. but the adoption is happening now. So one of the essential element part of that is the zero trust approach, where the user, wherever they are, never trust the entity, and keep authenticating them and all of that. And pandemic coming into picture, your perimeter is never going to be a fixed perimeter. Now the perimeter is expanded across, and it has become a wider, larger perimeter for any organization, because users are decentralized, distributed across the globe, work from anywhere policy, and all of that. So that essentially calls for a very stringent authentication and authorization when any entitlement is given to a user in an organization. So that is what I was trying to share. And the other perspective is, in terms of AI ML standpoint, obviously it's going to be a double-edged sword, because the security is always, going to be a cat and the mouse game. When the security professional is trying to defend, the attacker is always one step ahead in finding the weakness in the organization's network and trying to penetrate in. And as you rightly said, between the chair and the computer, the human is going to be always the weakest link. The user awareness is another key element which needs to be taken care of. Even though AI ML are something new, the rudimentary part still going to be there. So unless we human come together, we can't make the security chain stronger. I am unable to hear your audio.
Yes,
suddenly.
absolutely. I said very rightly said, and thanks for adding to the conversation while we do engage in a panel discussion. But it's great to hear from the audience members also, who are sometimes equally fascinated by the topic and have a good knowledge base also. It's just that we don't know yet. So thanks again for
True,
the...
Hemant. Sorry, I actually missed it. I mean, I had some customer calls, which is in the US time zone. Otherwise, I would have subscribed and participated in this discussion. It was really interesting.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
thanks to you for allowing me in the last few minutes. Thanks a lot.
Yes, we look forward to these interactions, and great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayank, Praveen, and Tom, for being with us today, sharing your insights about information security, about cybersecurity. It's a bad, dark, and scary world out there when it comes to cybersecurity, but I think there is a lot of light and hope too. Humans have, with their ingenuity, always overcome these bad times or bad trends which emerge. And AI, as it looks like a threat, we will use AI itself to overcome the threat. And of course, the human ingenuity. So thank you for it. And before we close, I would just like to ask if you have any last words, 1 or 2 sentences only, 15-20 second soundbite about cybersecurity. Some last words. Praveen, you want to go first? It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger giving his one-liner.
So, as I said earlier, cybersecurity is no more an optional part for the organization.
Absolutely. Fantastic. No more optional. Great. Mayank?
I think trust God, test everyone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Zero trust is our way, right? Yes, Tom.
Sure, mine's probably going to be, if someone wants to hack you, they will, but you just need to prevent yourself from everyone else.
That's like paying homage to what was that? Murphy's Law. Something where it has to go wrong, it will. Prepare yourself for it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It's been great to have you here. The audience members, thanks once again for being here. And those who are watching on YouTube, if you have reached up till this point, which has been over an hour, thank you for your patience and your contribution. The whole objective of this entire series, and you can watch the other videos on the channel too, which are related to the future of work, is to trigger conversations. You as an individual working with your friends, your colleagues in your office, you should be triggering these conversations at your workplace. There should be more awareness. There should be more preparation for all these different facets of future of work that we want to create. We experts will not be there in your workplace, but once you trigger the conversations, you will find the experts. The organization will find the problems that it needs to solve, and then there is a chance of finding the solution too, in-house or maybe from outside. But those conversations are important, and hence I play this role along with my fellow experts to trigger those conversations in those things. So if you're watching this over YouTube, hop onto the other videos and find more conversations, lead those conversations in your organizations, and create a wave of greater awareness and greater preparedness for the future. Once again, thank you for being here. I have a small token of thank you for people who are watching this on YouTube and the audience members. As a coach, I'm a life and business coach, I'm a career coach. So, as a thank you from my side, all I can give is the most valuable thing I can is my time. So, what I'm going to offer is a 20-minute laser sharp speed coaching session to whoever would like to make use of. So, that's the QR code. You can scan that and takes you to a link where you can block 20 minutes of my time as per your convenience. In those 20 minutes, we focus on one question, one issue, or one thing that in your life you are stuck at and you would like to either have more light on that subject or break free from that topic, issue, problem. 20 minutes we devote to that. That's my way of saying thank you to you. The QR code is there and the direct link, the bit.ly link, HK Speed Coach is also there. You can utilize either of them and reach me. So thank you very much. Thank you, Tom, Mayank, Praveen, for being on the panel, Rajesh, Vaishali, Prabhu, and we had a few others who had joined in the beginning. I think they left at the end of the hour. Thank you for joining us here, and it's been a great conversation. The next episode is going to be about the CXO of the future, the absolute leaders in the organization. They are going to face a very different set of challenges. How should they prepare? What are these new challenges that they would be facing? Something which the CXOs of today, of yesterday, have not faced. What are those emerging leaders supposed to prepare for when they become CXOs? That's going to be the focus of our conversations, hoping to bring in some expert, some experience, some ingenious CXOs for that conversation. So until the next episode, thank you very much. See you.
Thank you, Hemant. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Hemant. See you, everybody. Bye, Praveen.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Tom.